Nicole Donnelly, welcome back to Paper Napkin Wisdom. I'm excited to see you.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. I always enjoy our conversations.
Me too. Welcome to the jungle, right? Look at this jungle scene behind you. It's so good. So great. And you shared, yeah, look, anybody who knows Nicole, this is who and what you're all about. You shared this cute little doggy napkin with the dog wearing a hat, and I said right away, Nicole, dogs wearing hats got me right away. But it's almost like the dog is saying, bring joy. So why did you share that with me?
Well, my BHAG or one of my missions in life is to bring joy to a billion people. And so I thought about this because if you see a dog on a napkin, it brings me joy and it brings me joy to share it. And any of the things that I've done, business ventures or thinking about parenting too. There's so many moments of joy. And yes, we have moments of sadness, but if I can be there to help bring a little bit of joy here and there, I want to bring joy to 1 billion people in my lifetime.
So if I think about the first time I ever met you, it was in New York at the New York Stock Exchange event, and you were passing around, you know, a product that you had at the time with baby socks, right? And there were arm length ones and all and that was, but the way it wasn't the product, it's the energy you bring to it. And even right now, even when I bring up that moment, you light up. So was that something that you had to learn? That's what you're all about, or did that just come naturally?
Being able to articulate it is something that came later, but the way of being about it has always been there.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not always bringing joy in an exuberant way either. It's bringing joy. I mean, so much of it was in more quiet ways when I was younger. I wanted to be an inventor and I made my inventions. We lived on a dirt road in the desert in the middle of nowhere, like in a mobile home. And I wanted, I would invent things and I would walk to the neighbors, and it's not like a normal neighborhood. You had to walk far to the neighbors, and there were scary dogs and things like that. And one of the first things was a licorice dispenser, and I don't know how old I was, like 5, 6, something like that. And I put them all in the neighbors' mailboxes. And they must have thought it was so weird, but it's like if I'm making something, I want to share it with people and share that joy. And it could be cooking or baking. I made so much soup over the holidays and gave some to different neighbors too, because I like to share what I have. And it brings me joy, brings them joy as well. And so it's something that has continued, my whole life in different ways. And sometimes people know that it's me bringing the joy, or sometimes it's not, or I'm the facilitator of it. Like with baby legs, I didn't buy and give millions of pairs. Our customers did that. And so every time it was like these little bits of joy going out into the world.
Yeah. So how does that? I love this idea that we're quieter ways when you were younger, like this licorice dispensers that you're dropping off randomly. I mean, I'm just trying to imagine my reaction to walking out to the mailbox and seeing a licorice dispenser in it. But what, how did that? How did you learn to like? Was every time when you did that joy, was it always received well, or was it received with confusion? How did you?
I don't know. I don't never, well, when I was younger, I certainly didn't know. I had no idea what the adults thought. And I never would know because we were in an area where there was maybe one neighbor that we would talk to. And I
Mm.
don't know if I made it all the way down to her house because you had to go by the German shepherds to get there, you know?
So there's some barriers to entry there.
Um, But then there's times like when I had baby legs and I would be in the airport and some mom would have them, and it would bring me joy to see them on their kids,
Hmm.
or when it was on celebrities' kids published, that was pretty cool to see them out there in the world because my product was serving all of these people, and I sold helmets when I was snowboarding, and I could see them. My helmets were the only, like, I was the only one selling these helmets that looked the way they did, and I could just see them riding around, and the mountain hosts had them, and the instructors had them, and I was teaching at the time, and I'd sell them out of my locker. So I knew, like, there's those little, like, it's protecting people in that case. Um, and it's something that's why I love physical products. I mean, what I do right now, you can see how it brings people joy. And I love to see the physical products also walking out there in the world.
Yeah. So how I think what's really interesting about, and I know a little bit about this, but I think for people listening, the helmets when snowboarding, baby legs, licorice. You didn't pick licorice because you hate licorice. You picked licorice because you love licorice, right? Like,
Yeah.
and you're a highly accomplished snowboarder. Um, the stuff that you've done is crazy. And baby legs, you built for Sarah, right? Like you
Yeah.
built for your kid. So what I think you're discovering the things that bring you joy and immediately wanting to share them
Yes.
exuberantly with everyone, right? So these are things that are very authentic to you, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah. And according to my Strengths Finder, belief is in my top 5. And
Mm,
so I have to believe in whatever I'm doing. Um, and after I sold baby legs, I started a marketing agency because what we were really good at, and we started out in social media specifically back in 2010 because, that was new, social media for business back then.
mhm.
And I love the point where a brand touches a customer and there's an emotional connection, and the brand has what the customers need. And any brand that would care about that emotional connection point, on social media, through an email, whatever it is, then that's something that I could help them with, and that our team can help them create more emotional connections. And when you have that emotionally connected customer base, they're going to be loyal, they're going to recommend you. And so we only work with people who we believe in them and what they're doing and their intentions around it. And yeah, sometimes we find out their intentions aren't so good and we don't work with them anymore.
um, so let's talk about the learning process that's come over time from that point of view. And I love that belief is in your top 5 and strengths manager. And it's, these are important tools. There's a constellation of tools. But what's really interesting about your story, I think, is, and you said that you always had this stuff and you've just sort of understood it more and more as you've gotten older, right? Did I misunderstand that?
That's correct. That's
Yeah.
correct.
So somewhere on here, there's someone listening and they've got a business and they're struggling, right? They believe in what they have, they believe in their brand, they believe in their value proposition, but they're struggling and they're saying, I don't have the luxury to pick and choose who I work with. What would you say to that person?
So you sure do. I mean, because if you work, you'll get so much more energy from working with those good customers. And we we just had a separation with our biggest customer, and they showed us their true colors. And I know there's a lot to learn from that situation. And if you don't start picking and choosing from the beginning, you're going to grow kind of a crappy customer base, and it's about the emotional connection and the joy or the benefit that your customer gets from what you have. And if you think about how can you serve them, so with baby legs, it was easy. We're making parents' lives better. That was our mission every day, all day. And right now we're making workers' lives better. Like, people who work at the computer, I can make your life better by teaching you some AI things, and I'm really excited about it. I will save you so much time in your job. I can guarantee it. The average person who goes to our classes saves 50% of their time,
Right.
right? And I don't want to sit there and try to convince people to come on board. I want people who are excited about it too. And if they're not ready, that's okay. And it's very low pressure. It's like, all right, does this work? Do you have the money? Are you going to sign up? Let's do this. And if not, then that's okay. Then we're not the match at the moment. And I would rather have people who really want to be there, really want to have what we're delivering than the ones where it's a fight or an argument or, it's just not aligned.
Mhm.
Um, and, in the beginning, you might take some, and if they're not aligned, if you're not aligned with them, you'll probably regret it. They'll probably give you trouble. They might not pay their bills. There are a lot of not good things that come along with misalignment.
So you said something really quickly, and I want to go back to it because I think people might not understand what you're talking about.
Okay.
You said that you had a separation with a big customer. What does a separation with a big customer mean?
I don't think I can go into the details of that right now.
Okay,
It means that we are not working together anymore.
got it. So, but what I want people to understand that that's an end of that business relationship
Hmm.
because of a misalignment that you perceived with them and you,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that was a big customer, and I'm not going into too many details. Clearly, it was a big customer, so it was a valuable one at the beginning, but it turned out to be a less valuable, right? And was it hard for for that? Like,
Well,
is it, how does it turn out?
valuable, it depends how you define valuable. If we talk about money,
Mhm.
it was huge,
Yeah,
but the stress on the team and the way that we were treated, um, not good.
yeah. And isn't it true? And let's test this out a little bit. Isn't it true that when we get rid of those things that are negative energy things, everything else sort of like jumps up? Have you noticed that your team's energy has changed and the vibe has changed and your productivity maybe has changed?
Yeah, I mean, in the process, we had to be able to scale up really quickly.
Hmm.
And so we got a lot of process out of that. Um, and yeah, the team, it was a big impact on them to lose it and also to be in it. It was a lot of stress. Um, and honestly, they're still recovering from
Yeah.
it.
And bringing joy, how important is so I believe that abundance starts with one, right? Like it starts with one. So how important is that you're one of the people that you're bringing joy to?
I mean, I have to. That's part of the mission, you know. It's it's very important.
Right. So how do you measure that? How do you do an inventory? Like, do you measure it? Do you do a check-in with yourself? What does that look like? How do you assess those relationships and people and things around you to make sure that you're still in alignment or that you didn't miss something along the way?
Well, I would have KPIs. So throughout my life, I'd have personal KPIs, key performance indicators. And there are certain things that you can control and some that you can't, right? Like with kids. I could not control my child's grades. I couldn't control like much of anything about what happened, but what I could control is how much I was there. And so after I sold my first company, I made the commitment to be there 90% of the time before and after school for Sarah. And I wanted to be the primary influence in Sarah's life, and I wanted to be present that way. So I did miss out on a lot of professional opportunities during that time, and it was a conscious choice. And, Sarah would go with me to some things, but then, kids have school and they have activities and they can't just take off. Um, and I had recently, so Sarah's 20 now, and recently we had conversations about this and about that KPI
At
because
90% KPI.
yeah, 90% of the time being there before and after school and being there as being present, walking with Sarah, we would rollerblade, ride bikes, whatever it was. Not just being there and being on the phone either, but it would be
Mm.
being there and being present. And I might work after Sarah went to bed or when they're doing homework or things like that too. But that time was really important. And I know it's a big chunk of time, but it's also a time I'll never get back. And I want to be the present parent. And the outcome I wanted was that my kid felt safe to come and talk to me about anything. And it's a small, it's a very small little one singular thing. And, you could go crazy with KPIs and measuring this and that. But for me, that was the simple mission that I was on. And now since then, Sarah was living in Costa Rica for a year. And I went and visited, and Sarah's back with me right now, back from Costa Rica. But when I was in Costa Rica, Sarah gave me the biggest hug and said, "Thank you so much for the way that you raised me." And I was curious, but I wanted to be present. So I just absorbed the hug, and Sarah's still like hugging me. And then we were going hiking in the rainforest. And as we're going through the forest, I was like, "What did you mean? Like, what sort of things were you thankful for?" And one of it, Sarah could talk to me about anything. I was like, okay, job done. But
Yeah.
also that they knew how to do laundry because Sarah's living in a house with 14 people from all over the world, in this intern house. And people didn't know how to do laundry. So Sarah's thankful they knew how to do laundry, knew how to cook, knew natural medicine, knew first aid, and all of these basic life skills that we, we did together over the time of Sarah's growing up. Sarah's always in the kitchen with me. And Sarah learned about natural medicine and about first aid things and even did more advanced first aid with the horse. And,
Mhm.
we had a Gray's Anatomy book from when Sarah was like 3 years old because Sarah loves anatomy and physiology and um wants to be a wildlife veterinary surgeon and got to work in a clinic in Costa Rica with wildlife. Like just these amazing experiences, but it wasn't that. It was that they could do laundry. They they knew how to cook and bake and there's really basic things. Um and so when I look at the measures, maybe you're not going to know with your kids for 13 years, 15 years, 18 years, 20 years how you're doing or if that is going to pay off. And so when you look at how do I measure it, like with that one, I feel like I've done a pretty good job and I still want to be present with Sarah and be there for them, like in this time that they're here with me, like working in a clinic, doing their externship, before they go off again. And that's one of the measures. And then sometimes it's consciously putting friend time in the calendar. Right now I have pretty regular times, like when there's a EO Women event in Seattle. I will make sure that I get down there because I want to see the ladies and connect with them, you know? And I can't always control when that is or how often that is, but then for my neighbors, that I'm friends with, we walk our dogs together. My dog just passed away. And so we'll still do dog walks together with their dogs and we'll just text each other and it's a regular thing that happens several times a week because we've just built that in and we met because we had dogs, you know.
Right.
Um and you can look at the wheel of life and the wheel of life has there's an app, there's a lot online about the wheel of life and all the different areas of life that you might measure. And usually it's a scale of kind of 1 to 10 and it's in a circle and you could have like spirituality, friendships, romantic relationships, partnerships, whatever, business. Um, and the idea is to have it balanced. And I would say, like, it never is balanced, that wheel of life. There's always something that needs some work or attention. And usually at least once a year we'll look at that. Sometimes it's more often, but also now I feel like I'm in more of a flow where at the beginning of the year I can set my intentions for the year and those intentions keep things as even as they can throughout the year. And the intentions are more of how a way of being rather than doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and now being does involve doing, but what I really do love about what you said off the top, you talked about 90%. So 90%, people will sit there and say, "Oh, what does that mean?" It can mean something as simple as, uh, if there are 10 before and after schools, what you're really talking about is being there for every one of them except for one, right?
Mhm.
Oh, on a 5-day week. So they're morning and afternoons, two a day, 5 days a week, 10. There's one that you can say that you're not there, but more importantly, you are there for nine of them. So
Yeah.
talking about what you are doing. And that was that leading action. And I wanted to break that down for people who were listening to say you made it very simple. I think one of the things that you do really well is take this very complicated, very big thing and break it into a simple action that you can do on a daily basis. How aligned with that is part of bringing joy, and or is it, or is that something that you're very conscious and intentional about trying to break down and find that simple action that you can control along the way?
I think breaking it down and making it simple is why I'm a good teacher, and I lead through teaching and coaching, and
Mhm.
that's my nature. And that's taking the complex and making it simple every day. I think about the opportunities before and after school. I didn't want it to, a lot of times it's a stress and yelling at your kids' time. And I would see that so often. But for Sarah, I always wanted it to be an enjoyable time, and so there's certain things that I would adjust in my schedule to make those times enjoyable. Even going from doing workouts in the morning to scheduling cuddle time. So we had cuddle time because Sarah took longer to get awake and ready to go for the day. So we would have cuddle time in the morning and then, have a slower morning and go into school because my kid just takes that time. My kid takes half an hour to get out the door anywhere. I could wake up and be out the door in 5 minutes, you know? And so I had to slow down a bit more to be with Sarah and to really be present and not be frustrated. And this started when Sarah was really little. But we would do the cuddle time in the morning so then it wasn't rushed and we had that connection. So it's very intentional. Like I've been very intentional about that relationship and, other relationships too, but it's putting in kind of those systems that support the outcomes that you want so that you can make it a habit. And so we'd have the cuddle time in the morning and then go down, and the bedtime would have that same, sort of cadence after school also. So pick Sarah up, and I know my child, as many others, is going to be ravenous, hungry, and grumpy by the end of the day, and so it was my opportunity to sneak in vegetables. So if I had some broccoli, like cooked broccoli that was good, some seasoned cooked broccoli, Sarah would eat it. Or spinach or whatever it was. I just like feed the beast, you
Yeah,
know, and turn it back to then, okay, now we can be joyful and happy together. So there are those moments and, the beast moments, and there's still the moments of like tears and whatever, and it's okay to be sad. And it's okay to process that, and there will be, joy on the other side.
yeah,
Um, but it's okay to have those emotions in between. Um, but having those habits and putting systems in place can make life just so much more enjoyable and peaceful.
yeah. That's really relatable. How would we extend cuddle time, for example, as a KPI to baby legs or the helmets when you were snowboard and building them for the snowboarding, or the AI education that you do now that is, I think, really meaningful in today's world. I mean, people spend a lot of time in the drudgery of repetitive tasks that can be supported with AI. So how do you take cuddle time, for example, and translate that to a KPI as it relates to your business?
Okay, that's a good leap.
Big leap, but
Well,
look,
so
you're
in
you're really good at explaining stuff, and as a teacher, as a coach, that I think it's important for people listening to hear that these are translatable things.
Hmm. Yeah, so in the business, I would say it most relates to empowering my employees. So I think about this with baby legs, because you asked that one first. My employees, and this actually translated, I had a couple other businesses in between and same thing, to empowering them to help our customers and with the mission that we are going to make parents' lives better every day. So this could be Nordstrom saying that they wanted to return some items they didn't sell. They were like holiday designs or whatever. So some companies that were bigger were required to send them back. We would take them back. That's fine. And no questions asked, refund them. If a direct customer had an issue, and they didn't like the shade of purple, which happened sometimes, or whatever it was, we would just refund them, say keep it or give it to a friend, and we'd give them 2 additional pairs for free as a surprise in the mail. Um, at Christmas time, so that we didn't get
So,
stuck
so,
with,
so, so, wait,
yeah,
back up.
yeah.
I call you and say, my baby legs came in a crappy shade of purple. You false advertised me. That wasn't right. You're telling me that no problem, we'll refund you. And oh, by the way, prize inside, we're sending you two baby legs that you can keep them or give to someone else.
We wouldn't even tell them that we were sending them.
That's badass.
We would give them their money back and then surprise them with 2 other pairs.
That's wicked.
And we did it for retailers too, where we would, if they, I don't know, they had something left over, holiday ones or whatever, we just credit their account, give them the money back, and say, give them to your customers or keep them, do whatever you want with them. Because I would rather have my product out there in the world bringing joy to more people than in my warehouse returning stuff.
So the
And
filter is always going back to the vision, like to the purpose, right? In your case, with making parents' lives better,
mhm,
if it made parents' lives better, you were doing it.
yeah. Yeah,
And
why make their lives harder? And so at Christmas time, or around every holiday, you have all these holiday designs. So if we hadn't sold out by a holiday design, we would surprise our top consumer customers by sending them 10 pairs of snowman baby legs or something like that. We'd send them a bunch and say, "Hey, Merry Christmas, give these to your friends. Happy holidays, whatever." And they would be so surprised and delighted by having 10 free pairs. And they're all the same design. So, of course, they're going to give them to other people and not just keep them. We would do the same with our best retailers. We would send them like 30 pairs, 50 pairs, and say, give these to your customers. Because we didn't want the product in our warehouse after Christmas because we had all those holiday styles that we would do. Every holiday had the styles, and we would rather have them, be out in the world and bringing joy to people than sitting on our shelves. And so we would do these things that increased loyalty. And yes, there was a cost, but I mean, for the customer loyalty that we had, and it was nothing, and on where we are now with the AI training, we do these mastermind sessions every Wednesday. And it's kind of like office hours to support the classes that we teach every Tuesday. And every once in a while, we'll open up these sessions on Wednesdays. So I answer questions in groups online on Facebook because I have run a big group on Facebook, and then on WhatsApp. And so if there's a topic that catches fire, we'll put it into that Wednesday session and invite everybody for free. And so people wanted to know how to do proposals with AI, like off of from really big RFPs, like government RFPs, things like that, and how to use AI to do good proposals. So I put together a session and we did that on a Wednesday and showed people how to do these like complicated respond to the request for a proposal from government or, big companies, um, and do really great proposals using AI. And because it was a hot topic. And so I still try to serve those different communities and bring them a little bit of joy, and this time it's in listening to the conversations that people are having online and kind of serving into those conversations, answering questions and facilitating conversations and Zooms. And this is how we started our masterminds in the first place, is that there would be a conversation that would catch fire. And so I'd pop up a Zoom and we would address the what people were talking about and show people how to do it.
So it's almost like you take this the vision, right? In this case, you're talking about the AI saving people 50% of their time, making life easier for people. Going back to baby lives, making parents' lives better. You're not operating from it's the least I can do. You're thinking about what more can I do?
Hmm.
What's the most I can do to achieve this given this circumstance?
That is true. And with AI, we ask ourselves every time we do a new marketing strategy or anything for like a new strategy for a new client, we ask ourselves, how can we add more magic to this? Or when we're doing our annual strategies, how can we add more magic because we know how to use AI really well? So now we can produce these strategies, give creative concepts, all outline how to do everything, give people blog topics for the year, that are on brand, give them story brand. Like we give them so much in the strategies now because we keep asking, how can we deliver more magic? Because we have become so much more efficient in what we do and we keep building on it and we keep building these components to the strategy. So now they get strategy, they get all of their content topics for the year, they get their creative campaigns, for once a quarter. They get everything lined out. They can choose to have us execute it, or they can take it and do it on their own. But we're delivering the most amazing strategy you've probably seen.
That's
And
amazing.
we can do it faster, probably than anybody else because we're using AI to help us with it, but we just want to add more magic and deliver more magic to our customers. So we're not thinking like, how can we do less? Or and our efficiency is really high because it's how, there are different components to a strategy. So how can we create an AI thing that does this part of it? And now we have like a really efficient process in getting there. And, we're like 10 times more efficient than we were a year ago,
Right. Right.
and we
That's amazing.
deliver more magic.
What's really awesome. I know it's early where you are, and it's amazing to see how much like you pick up momentum when you start to talk about what you're doing and how you're doing it and how much joy it's bringing you, right? Like you're lit up. You're
I
it's
know,
a
over a marketing strategy, right? Like it's so
right, right.
dumb. It really is if you think about it. Baby legs, I feel like baby legs were fun because it's a product, but it's a marketing strategy. But you should see what we produce. Like it's so good now.
Yeah,
And I love I love showing it to the clients because they love it too.
yeah.
And so we can bring joy, like I can bring joy in a marketing strategy, and I can bring, and the team has a good time producing it too because they get to do more creative and it still takes us less time than it did the old way, you
Right.
know? And so they're more proud of their work too.
Love it. Love it. Nicole, well, we've done this before where we've gone on for hours and and uh and talked, and I know I could talk to you for a long time. So I want to say thank you for sharing what you've shared. Um, do you have anybody you want to shout out to close our conversation?
Um, I would say thank you to Sarah for, my 20-year-old for living this experiment with me.
That's great.
That is this life together. And to my team, I mean, all of the teams that I've had, the people at Baby Legs, the people at Condomania, the people at everybody who's at AI Smart Ventures right now, and all of our vendors and partners, um, because together we can do such magical things. Um, yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody for bringing their magic. And what if you did not have to work on Fridays?
Beautiful. Yeah. That- That's that's worth exploring, isn't it?
Yeah.
Might bring joy to a couple people.
It might.
It
It
just might.
might. We don't schedule recurring meetings on Fridays and we try to take them off. It's been really busy this year because AI, but
Yeah.
um I think everybody can have shorter work weeks and get just as much done.
Wouldn't everybody want to accomplish more with less effort, right?
Yeah. And how many people would that bring joy to? It would bring joy to the people working less and joy to their families and friends, and brings a lot of joy.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here, Nicole.
Thank you.